Most of the time, when you fail your IELTS reading, it's because you don't know this technique. So the technique is about reading in the right way, using the right technique for reading. Probably you used to read at school, at high school, for studying, but the way you read for studying is very different, because in that situation you need to memorize information, data, names, dates, whereas here you don't need to memorize, you just need to use the information to answer to the various questions. So you're going to use two different types of techniques. One is the reading called skim reading, and the other one is scan reading. So the scan reading is a very fast reading where you only need to look at keywords. So let's say a very simple example on our everyday life, which is that we need to look for a number on a telephone book. And when you know the name of the person you're looking for, you don't read every single name on the page, but you just skim read very quickly until you get to the right name. So you just scan the overall page and then get the specific information that you need. In fact, the brain will just normally delete all the other information and focus only on the keywords. That's the technique that you need to use for the IELTS reading section. You will read first the question of the text and you will know exactly what they are asking you. And when you read the actual text, you're going to scan read the text and look just for the keywords that are helpful for answering the questions. The other type of reading is skim reading. In this case, you're looking to get an overview of the text, of the topic, of the context. In this way, you will understand where to find information in the various paragraphs. Each paragraph has a structure. They have an introduction, a main body, and a conclusion. So already by reading the first and the last sentence, you will know what is the paragraph about and if you're going to find the answer to your question in that paragraph. So remember not to read with an intensive technique, because that is only for your studying, for memorizing information. It's something that you may do a bit at university, you'll definitely do it at high school, but you will see that during your university course, you will use way more the skim reading technique and the scan reading technique. Another very important strategy to get the highest score in your IELTS reading is time management. As you know, you have 1 hour to read free text and answer to 40 questions. So you will need to manage your time very well. But do not worry, because we are here to help you to manage your time at your best. So the first thing to do is read the question first, so you know exactly what you're expected to know. Then you read the text, and then you answer to the question, inserting directly in the actual papers or online, depending on how you're doing the test, the answers. Because, as I told you already, you do not have any time after the hour to insert the answer in your papers. You will see that you usually spend between 8 to 10 minutes to read the text and around another 8 and 10 minutes to answer the questions. Remember that every text is more difficult than the previous one, both in content, vocabulary. The topic may be different and more difficult and more, and they may use more technical vocabulary. So it is important to spend a bit more of time on your final text, which is the most difficult one. It is very important to remember that more you practice, the highest grade you can get in the IELTS in general. In this particular part, in the reading, they will test specific skills like reading skills, analysis, and the capacity of extracting information from a text to answer questions. All these skills will be very useful during your university course. So do not worry, don't think you need to be an expert in literature or a scientist. You will find all the information that you need to answer the question in the text that you have to read. However, there is another thing that is very, very important, and it's your vocabulary. You need to be very careful in the spelling, because a word that is spelled wrong it's like a mistake, it's like an incorrect answer, even though the word is right for the answer. So if you write topic without the final C and the right word is topic, but you write only TOPI, in that case the answer is wrong. So if you have some time at the end of the hour or at the last part of the hour, I strongly advise you to spend some time checking all the spelling and making sure that all your answers are correct. Remember also that inside the text there may be pitfalls. So for example, let's say that the question is, where was Dante born? You may look in the text for Dante, but you find it in many places, and maybe in the first one it said Florence, or in another one it said Ravenna. But you really need to check the word born or date of birth or place of birth instead of death, because this information may be also inserted just to make you a bit unsure of what is the right or the wrong answer, and also to check if you're reading carefully. So in this case, look for the word Dante and born or date of birth or period of birth or location of birth. In that case, you will find exactly where Dante was born, and you will be ready to answer your question. Another very important thing to do to get a very good grade at the IELTS reading is to read carefully what they ask you to do. In some part, they may ask you to give one word or two words. You shouldn't interpret the words and change it from what they're giving in the text. You should exactly report them in the same way as you can find them in the text. So it's very important to look at the words before and after the answer to check if it's a plural or a singular word, and the context that it's around this word. So you will already know the answer based on these characteristics. Another important thing to remember is that questions are sequential. So the first question will be in the first part of the text, the second question will be in the second part of the text, and so on. So you already know where to find or in which area to find the answer. In the next video, we are going to look at some example tests so you can get even a better sense on how to get the highest grade in the IELTS reading.